Hi, I'm Mike McCormick here at GBTA Studios live in Toronto, and I'm here with Vito Curalli, the Executive Director of Canada for Hilton. Welcome.
Thanks.
Glad to have you here.
Thanks, Mike. Glad to be here.
So your focus is on international travel, meetings and events, that segment of the marketplace. Tell me a little bit about the trends you're seeing today.
Yeah, Mike, good question. We're seeing a lot of different trends happening across the region, really throughout the Americas. And I'll quickly touch on a few. First of all, and I think it's no particular secret in the business, groups are getting smaller. We're starting to see real growth in terms of smaller group sizes across the region, and really with the smaller groups, smaller time frames in which they are booking into.
Right.
So there's been a real pressure on our folks at our hotels, as well as our sort of above property folks, to really be engaged with these customers who are here at these particular shows to ensure that we connect with them and understand their needs. And their needs are, like I said, more of the smaller meetings, regional meetings across the country. Canada is a good example of that. And they're booking them at such fast time frames overall. Like I said, it's putting a lot of pressure on us to react quickly, ensure we're checking for what their needs are and getting that done. That's a big one.
Right.
And then for us, specifically within our company at Hilton, we're seeing a movement across the brands. What traditionally were some of the brands like Hilton and DoubleTree in terms of booking meetings and events, we're now starting to see the movement of this type of business to other brands. Right. Brands like the Hilton Garden Inn brand, the Hampton Inn brand. So as more hotels open up across the country that fall into this focus service area, these hotels are opening up. Not as much meeting space at times as some of the bigger hotels,
right,
but small enough that where if the meetings are getting smaller, the hotels are getting a little bit smaller, there's a fit.
Right.
And so we're seeing that trend where a lot of these folks who manage this business are starting to really drive that business across the brand thresholds that we've got within the company. That's a significant trend for us. Something else that we're seeing that the customers are asking for, customers like at this show, is a simpler contract.
Right.
I certainly understand that the size of the contracts can be quite large for large events. When you're looking at meeting space, food and beverage, AV, all those components. But when you're looking to just do smaller meetings in a smaller hotel, we've come around to smaller contracts, really kind of fitting that particular niche.
That segment,
and,
yep.
Yeah, and these are, we call them express contracts at times, and so they're just very simple, they're very neat. We get them in, get them out in terms of the paperwork, and allow the customer to just kind of focus in on the actual event itself. And then one other trend that we're seeing in our business, which is actually the fun side of this business, is a lot of pre and post kind of stuff happening.
Right. And that's been a bigger overall trend. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see some of the terminology with sort of bleisure, right?
Yeah.
Sort of business and leisure. We're not seeing too much of that in some of the smaller regions of the country and some of the smaller hotels. But in some of the big cities and some of the key cities, and where folks do want to kind of blend in both of these particular segments,
right,
what we're starting to see is group blocks kind of expanding a little bit more, and sort of the amount of rooms that are sitting in those pre and post room blocks are starting to grow a little bit more as well. So traditionally those were fairly small, and those are now, we're starting to see growth on that, and rightfully so. People want to take advantage of the fact that they're in Vancouver for a few days and they want to extend that and maybe go up to Whistler as an example. We obviously want to support that in that regard. So those are some of the bigger trends that I'm seeing overall.
Yep, so clearly you're making investments, like you said, to kind of keep up with those trends. And then, when you're dealing with negotiations, like you mentioned a few things, one is simpler contracts, the others is, that more last minute buying behavior.
Yeah.
What are you seeing in terms of the negotiations? Because clearly, okay, hotel rates have risen,
yep,
but it's been in a healthier marketplace. Not a bad thing, it's just what it is. Are you seeing things in terms of those negotiations?
Yeah,
well?
the negotiations are always, they're always interesting, of course. And first and foremost, our customers are very, very smart.
Yep.
They understand what's happening. They understand that in many markets, and you look at some of the key cities in North America, for instance,
yep,
very, very busy hotels.
Right.
Very, very, demand is at its highest level that we've seen in many of these cities, especially in Canada, cities like Toronto, Montreal, highest levels we've ever seen. So when it comes to negotiations, we tend to look at different pricing structures. We look at dynamic pricing, which is a key component of our business travel sales segment overall. So we're starting to talk more about that in terms of, can we be more creative? What does that look like in terms of space recognition? How do we look at blending of rates? Whatever those particular items are, we know that we've got to be creative, because we both are coming to the table now with a lot of information at hand. We know what's happening out there. We're also talking to our customers when it comes to these particular trends and negotiations at secondary markets. And we're trying to explain to the customers that, hey, we don't just have X number of hotels in a key downtown core. We've got way more hotels in the outside of the core. And sometimes you don't always have to be in one particular hotel or location. So we're opening up that discussion way more and offering way more options in terms of hotels. That helps the customer a lot. We're qualifying that more. So it's no longer just about, X rate at X hotel for X day. It's really more about the holistic picture about it all. And then we're able to negotiate at a much sort of even level overall, and a much more comfortable way of doing it, because everybody knows where we stand and all of that. That's a great trend, and I think that's only going to grow even further in the near future, Mike.
Especially in a continued kind of healthy environment.
Exactly, exactly. We see the trends obviously continue. I mean, like I said to you, in terms of and I've seen all the stats around demand, and demand continues to grow. Supply is not keeping up with demand in Canada. That's right. So we're, yes, there are new hotels coming into the system. We at Hilton tomorrow are opening 3 more hotels in Canada, which is excellent news for us. But again, may not be enough to kind of take care of the demand that's happening in certain cities in the country.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, great insights, Vito. Appreciate your time and support of GBTA.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
And I'm Mike McCormick, live from GBTA Studios here in Toronto.